Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the MiamiHal Real Estate Show. I am here with Javier Gonzalez. We call him Jav. That's how we be friendly with each other. This is how we do our business because you are the relaxed real estate agent. I'm a little less so, but still relaxed, trying to get things done in our own styles, our own way.
We're casual as we can be.
Yeah. And we obviously welcome you, our audience. If you have questions today, I'm going to have a lot of questions. Because I'm going to learn just like you are. Usually I'm here trying to teach the audience what's going on in real estate, but today I'm also going to be the student. I gotta ask you, we have a very particular topic we're going to talk about today. It's a CRA, which of course is an acronym.
Right.
I didn't really understand what that acronym was, and thankfully you gave me a little bit of time to prep, but I still have lots of questions. What is a CRA and what does it have to do with real estate?
A CRA is a community redevelopment agency. And what a CRA does is supposed to remove slum and blight from communities. There are several in the Miami-Dade region. So what happened last week was that the city of Miami finally passed a form that would allow for Village West and Coconut Grove to have their own CRA. So what it will do is it takes funding, and we can get more into it, but basically what it does, it gives extra funding to a community, which will then affect pricing inside of that community. So that's really what a CRA is. It is put in place to remove slum and blight.
Now you look at this not only as a real estate agent, not only as somebody who lives in the Grove, but also as somebody who has been involved in politics prior. So you talk about slum and blight and this and that, and I want to be the man on the street that doesn't understand those terms. In short, Miami has identified an area that they believe that is, it's degraded. It is not what it could or should be. And so they said, let's find a way to shed a spotlight financially on this area to reinvigorate what it is. Is that a better way to look at this?
That is a good way of explaining it. And in particular in the Village West, when we talk about Village West, we're talking about the area from 32nd Avenue to the Gables side, which is over on Brooker, goes down to Loquat, and then it runs up across US 1 and actually into the little area that is where the Douglas Metro Rail Station is. That's what's been kind of set aside. Now, the interesting part about Village West, it's also was part of an opportunity zone, which, came along a couple of years ago to try to do the exact same thing.
But the opportunity zone is a federally, meaning a federally mandated area that says, hey, if you invest in this area in a very specific way, you have a lot of tax benefit there.
Correct. So that is the private sector.
Okay.
So, but going back, the Village West or the Village West is an OZ. It now will have a CRA. It's also a TUA. So they're very, very, very big.
How many acronyms can we throw at this street or this area?
So what happens is all of these things have been going on for a while because they've been trying to create more infrastructure, more financial gains for the community. So really the interesting part about a CRA is what I've always advocated is that it would affect real estate prices within a community that is trying to avoid gentrification. And then this is something that will actually speed it up. So that's really one of the conversations that, I've had with the local leadership. And I'm not popular for it, by the way.
Okay. Well, you're popular here. So you'll speak your mind. We'll all get educated and learn something today. So this CRA, who do you believe ultimately at the very beginning wanted this to happen in a CRA zone?
I think what ends up happening is it's government's way of trying to get targeted money into a community. So from a concept, CRAs actually in the state of Florida are actually being sunsetted. So I'm going to give you a good example of a very obvious CRA, something close by. So if you look at 64th Street or 64th Street, you see that you have all that new development where the dollar store is.
And
there's also affordable housing in that building.
Okay.
So then you also see that there's new bike lanes. and use.
We could pause and talk about what affordable housing means too.
Oh, that's another conversation. So affordable housing, that we'll have that topic.
Does that mean that I can afford it
No.
if I'm making $40,000 a year? Oh, okay.
So affordable housing has a lot of different levels. That'll be for another show.
Okay.
We can have a whole topic on that show.
Okay.
But so a good example of what a CRA should do or could do is it contributes money to these type of situations. So in the dollar store situation that you see, the CRA, what's been designated, actually owned the land. They had purchased the land years ago. So what they do is they give the land to the developer. The developer then commits to doing affordable housing, gets some tax benefits out of it, and then that's how you create that building.
When you say gives them the land, the developer the land, is that a land lease for 99 years or anything? It's like, here, have the land.
That's how they do
And
it.
in return, the developer provides what?
They commit, first of all, that they have
Affordable
the dollar
housing.
store, so that's a business model. And then they affect that they're going to have affordable housing for X amount of years. That's the other thing too. It's only X amount of years. So it doesn't have to be in perpetual.
So land forever,
Uh-huh.
promise back
Yeah.
for X number of years.
And some tax breaks. And then in the essence, in the streetwise, you'll see that they have the commissioner sign out there, who isn't the commissioner anymore. But if you go down there, you'll see the sign. So the CRA contributes to that project for the county. So let's say the county, and these are just numbers. Let's say that road project costs $2 million. The CRA contributes a portion to the county's budget. So they say, let's say we'll put in 20%, and that's something that then the county is actually using the CRA to pay some of their debt.
How is the CRA funded at the beginning?
Okay, so
Tax
CRA
dollars, right?
So this is the interesting part about a CRA and how they're funded, and this is one of the things that with the growth CRA could become. There may be promises being made that will take longer than the actual commitment will be, because what happens is with the CRA, they cap your taxable dollars. So let's say in Village West, let's say the taxable dollar that's currently there, that all the tax dollars are, we're going to say it's $1 million, just to give you.
Okay.
It's a lot more. Well, let's say it's $1 million. It's $1 million. So what they do is they say they cap it. Anything else that comes above that at the tax base goes to the CRA, and that's how the CRA is funded. And then it's called tax TIFs, tax increment funding. So as your tax base goes up, that portion that has not been committed to goes to the CRA for the CRA to do their work, to do their job, what they're supposed to do, which is to remove slum and blight.
Okay.
Okay, so when the super complex, but it's a lot of fun because of the.
I was just about to say, even that portion that you've described, I need an accountant. That is not for a regular man to figure out.
It's not for it. So,
but essentially, the government's taking money from one pocket and putting it in the other, and saying we're putting a spotlight on this area.
Exactly, we're putting a spotlight on this area. They're taking but what they do is one of the things that happened with it's the South Miami CRA, also the Omni CRA. The Omni CRA ended up paying for a lot of things that were county projects, PAC, a bridge, Martin Stadium. So they contributed a lot of money to a lot of different areas. So what ends up happening is that the promise of all of this money coming into these communities is lagged. It takes time to get to it. So from the political standpoint, they make the promises, but how that money gets there is.
So if it's lagged, and we're talking about not months, but years, right?
Yep.
Somebody in politics makes a promise, gets the money to be shifted to where it needs to, and then they're likely out of office when anything actually positive comes of this. It seems like this is political theater too.
It's a little bit of political theater. And just to go back to how CRA, and we're talking about the slum and blight aspect of it. So for a CRA to get the initial idea gets implemented, then after that, what they do is they call a finding of necessity, more acronyms, FOM.
I read that in our prep last night.
So finding of the necessities has certain categories that a targeted CRA area has to hit. They could be from 911 calls, it could be from crime, it could be from slum and blight deterioration. And the reason I'm not popular with my comments is because I've always felt that Coconut Grove's slum and blight is actually investor blight. When you have a sale of a 1 acre non-continuous acre for $5.5 million, that's not slum, that's not blight. That's actually investment land backing. When you go down Grand Avenue, you see all those vacant lots. That's actually was on the market for $33 million. It's got some other legal issues and stuff like that. Metronomics added it, but it's a long story. And then also when you see all the vacant lots in Coconut and West Grove, all of the vacant lots are actually single family lots. Anything that's zoned T3O, which can be a duplex, is snapped up and built. It's the single family ones that when you go out there and you see all those vacant lots, it's all single family.
Because there's no economics to develop that.
Exactly. So now what happens is when you have a lot of this investments that see that now money's going to be coming in to promote more of a commercial side, because that's how you're going to get your tax base. Because the promise of CRA is always you're going to say you're going to build affordable housing. Yeah, and you can. It'll eventually get there, but not before you have to take care of a lot of other things.
So why not just rezone and not have a CRA?
That's the other thing too. So that's a topic of the community. So does the community want upzoning, rezoning? We just went through that with Windward Norte, which was a big rezoning that they did that worked through the community. Most of the community in the Village West does not want an upzoning. We talked about that probably about 5 years ago, where you would do something like Center Grove. That's all duplex. It's all T3O. And then that would create a spurred development. But that also displaces the historic residents that are there, because it's just it speeds up the gentrification.
To me, in a very simplified way, this is like spinning plates.
Yeah, that's exactly.
You got
what it is.
30 plates, and God forbid one of them falls, and nobody truly has the answer, because there's so many iterations of how to take a piece of property and make it more valuable.
Correct.
Whether it's by itself, whether it's just one block, or whether it is the West Grove CRA that's now formed.
Yeah.
Right.
And then that CRA still has to go through county approval. So what they do is once they've had the CRA at the Miami level, at the local level, the city level, then they have to take it to the county to be approved. So then the county then gets its hands on it. And then the county will say, okay, for me to approve this, I want this, 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 and this. Example is the street that you just saw, those little pretty bumpers and the little bike road. Well, the CRA committed to paying a county project X amount of dollars. So when
that doesn't sound very straightforward.
It is, and that was always my frustration with it.
Yeah.
My frustration with it from a political standpoint is, or from a community standpoint is, if you're going to do it, tell the truth.
Yeah.
Tell everything that comes with this type of project. And then let's say the example that was given recently was that this CRA will be able to give out, we'll have $250,000, making up a number, $250,000 of immediate money. Well, yeah, but you have to have a CRA director. That's $100,000. You have to have staff. So already you've taken $250,000 and put $200,000 out of it. So all of these little details have to be done. Now, with regards to the Village West, they have said that they're going to have a community advisory board.
I was just going to ask about that. If you're talking about the city of Miami making the first round of decisions and promises and demands, and then it has to go to the county level, what about the poor people that are in the zone that don't seem to have a voice? So this advisory board, is it powerful, or how does that sit?
We haven't seen it yet because we don't have that advisory.
Okay.
So the CRA will be controlled by 5 commissioners, 5 city of Miami commissioners. And what just happened last week with the city of Miami commissioners, between 2 of the commissioners that had a little spat and had a little political fallout. It made actually national news. So it's been kind of exciting. So these 5 commissioners, they have, that's who actually runs the CRA. And then you have input from 2 county commissioners. And then also at the same time, then you have your advisory board that what I hopefully envision with the advisory board is that they look at everything. They just don't look at the fact that somebody's going to give them $50,000. That they look at the fact of what this will imply once they go into a, kind of an open market, and that all of these investors that are out there are going to activate those properties.
So now you always have to bring it full circle. You've got all this political and economic back and forth, but for the people that live in the area today, or the people that are thinking about buying and living in the area tomorrow, how do they feel about the fact that there is a CRA and an OZ and an X and a Y and a Z? Or does it affect their values? And is there efficient ways to affect value and inefficient ways, and where do you stand on that?
I think from my standpoint as somebody in the community, is what I was trying to do is just make sure that everyone was aware of what could happen or what would happen. I did the same thing when the OZ was announced. I said, this is a CRA on steroids. Basically has no oversight. And by the way, CRA has very little oversight also. We'll talk about that a little bit more too. But the reality of it is with the OZ, people were enthused because of the pricing. But then immediately, just like everything in Miami, we can screw up anything. The OZ, once it was announced, all the prices went up 30%. So then all of a sudden it didn't make any sense because your tax deferment just didn't square up.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was something that happened on the quick. That is my fear with the CRA. Once you know that these properties are going to be improved, now they have an incentive. They have an incentive for development to come in and improve it. So now you know that all these vacant lots that are out there on Grand Avenue are going to be worked. Then all of the peripheral stuff will now get a different value. And then that value will continue to creep up. So if we're trying to say that we're trying to avoid gentrification on the neighborhood, all you're doing is you're expediting. Now, the neighbors, and I spoke to quite a few of them, their feeling is, something is better than nothing. At least we will get something. And that's kind of sad. I mean, that's kind of...
When you say I go out and talk to the neighbors, and you are not your typical resident and neighbor. You have a voice. How are you getting your voice to be amplified? Obviously, today is not this helps, right? But besides coming on Facebook with community newspapers, what else do you do to get your voice out there and to listen to what the community really wants and get the heartbeat so that you can move forward?
Well, one, I kind of grew up in that neighborhood, and also I just speak with the leadership. And get to talk to some of the leadership. And again, it's not about, it's just, I try to put out a different non-political type thing to just say, listen, this is an economic thing. And this is how we in real estate are going to envision it. 3 years ago, when the CRA started to even be discussed, and when Terra had their properties under contract over there on Grand Avenue, we already saw prices starting to creep up. We already started to hear the voices say, ooh, we're getting the development. So all it does is just from a community standpoint, it speeds up something that you hear everybody trying to slow down. If that makes sense.
It does. And why would somebody want to slow this down to, I guess, what you would probably consider a reasonable pace rather than this escalation that doesn't have any underpinnings or footings that really work?
I think the key is to have a plan in place. And if there's a plan in place that you can work to those goals or you can work to that planning, that I think is a little bit, better control. And there's also, but
therein lies the issue right there, because you said the CRA really doesn't have that control. So they create something and then it is free enterprise that really takes over. And they can say whatever they want to say, but hey, you've already given the keys away, right? So am I missing something?
I think from the community advisory board, when you have that, they can implement a plan and then have a community that says, this is how we want the community to roll out. And there's been discussions for years in Village West, for years. And it's something that, has never been really affirmed. It hasn't been completed. So I think this is another way that maybe they're trying to get there. But then you also have to understand the Village West is an NCD2, another acronym. So you have all of these
Stop
things.
it.
I know, but so that's a whole, in there lies the whole part of the conversation, which is interesting.
So as a real estate agent, let's talk about, you have somebody in that newly created CRE zone, Village West, and they're looking to sell. What do you tell them if they don't have to sell and they say, listen, I'm thinking, Hav, I'm going to sell at some point. I want your advice. What do I do? Do I sell now or later?
Sell the property just like all the investors did.
So don't sell.
Land bank, just like everybody else has been doing for the last 10, 15 years.
Okay. What about a buyer that wants to move into that general area?
Try to buy now because the prices are going to be as low as they're going to be.
And at what point does Village West and Miami in general outprice the fact that people can't make the money at their work to support where they want to live?
Which is part of what a CRA can do by giving affordable housing and giving workforce housing but all those are subsidized. That's how you get to that point.
Maybe it goes back to what I asked at the beginning. Affordable housing, what does that mean?
Correct. Yeah.
So if you need to make $70,000 to live in a very modest home in that area at some point, and the salaries for positions around there is only $50,000. How does the gap
There
closed?
lies our affordable housing problem in Miami-Dade. And we have, I would really say that's a different topic. There's so many things that affect our pricing
Right.
for our affordability. The first one is land costs. We will always, we are a peninsula. And on our side, we just really, we have the Atlantic Ocean on one side and we have the Everglades in the middle. And you can't build in there because that's really where our water comes from, our aquifer.
Right.
So I think what ends up happening is your land cost is first, then your carry costs, your insurance. We are an expensive insurance market.
Yeah.
And then we have state preemption or state laws. The best one is Save Our Homes, where a homeowner gets a benefit, but an investor gets taxed to the hilt. So all of these things affect how you get to pricing and how you do it. And that's one of the things that when I remember when I ran for commissioner, I made the comment one time about, I can't promise you affordable housing. And the reply was, oh, because he's a realtor. I said, no, because I know what I'm talking about. So you can't do it. And
you wanted to be honest, and the honest answer was not acceptable to the general
Nobody
public.
wants to hear honest.
And
it's
you
just
become
difficult.
commissioner.
Yeah, and definitely for that. But again, you look at all our neighborhoods; they're all continuing to move up in price point, and because we just don't have dirt, we don't have land, and then you go vertical, and then when you go vertical. And when you go vertical, then that becomes an investment vehicle because they need to sell it in a way that is not, affordable in essence, because they have to, make their money, make their percentage. So it's difficult.
So let's see if we have any questions. At the moment, no, but I have certainly learned what a CRA is.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that there are certainly sides to be on within a CRA
Mm-hmm.
zone.
Mm-hmm.
And you seem to be, firmly entrenched in, you have to do it with local advisory
Mm-hmm.
and a lot slower than typically a CRA is paced.
Yeah, you have to be open to the community that you're trying to assist. So in this case, be upfront with what are the promises that are already made, because again, you're going to be committed to giving developers, you get developers tax-free, real estate tax-free for 30 years. Another thing too, you can do with a CRA once you've gotten to a certain number, is you can bond it, and you can bond it for 30 years. So you're bonding this money into a community that has to pay it back. On top of it, you're taking tax base away from not only the city of Miami, but the county. Because again, if you're making all of this new money, and also obviously Coconut Grove is going to make a lot of money. This is now we're talking about some, place in BFE. This is something that is valuable already. So what's going to happen is as soon as this becomes
BFE, you had to use another acronym.
Exactly. Yeah. And we know what that was. But so all of a sudden you're building this huge money up front, and you can actually bond that money for 30 years or for X amount of times. You can actually bond it outside of what you can sunset a CRA. It is just, the whole point is it's complex. As long as leadership, the community leadership, and as long as the political leadership are up front with the community, I think then it's fine. It's something that they want. It's something that it was voted on. It was approved. But what I see is a lot of just, stuff that they're not prepared for. And that's what I try to do.
Sometimes when we talk, I get these visions of how to describe this. And I want to just put this out there. First of all, before I even do that, we have said CRA,
Mm-hmm.
and faux pas.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to ask you, what does CRA stand for? Because we talked about what it is, but community.
It's Community Redevelopment Agency.
Okay, that's the first time we said that.
Right.
So governments have a way of TLAs, three-letter acronyms, that obfuscates. That's the right word. What it really is.
Mm-hmm.
So Community Redevelopment Agency.
Correct.
And the agency is the group that decides what this area should be down the road,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully financially how to get there.
Right.
Okay.
And then you have to have a staff to create the vision or to implement that vision.
Okay. Now, here's my vision.
Okay.
I hear this at the street level. Hey, this street doesn't look great.
Correct.
We got to find a way to get better.
Correct.
We we complain and we talk to a larger group of streets around, and ultimately we get up to America in my big vision of this. There is blight and issues all across America. There's no perfect community. And to me, it seems like we are perfectly happy as a country to kick the can down the road. And once we kick it, we go, look, there's no garbage right here.
Yeah, correct.
And then we walk forward a few years and there's the can again, and we just kick it again. And along the way, we just want to stuff money in our pockets. Is that fair, what I just put into a vision?
I think it's kind of I wouldn't consider it a positive vision, but I think what ends up happening is that we take for granted that governments need money to operate, and our governments, our local government, are going to be in dire needs in the next couple of years because of COVID, because of the fact that it doesn't matter what political party you come from.
But we had problems before COVID too, financially.
But the thing is, we don't, for what we are requesting as consumers, let's call ourselves taxpayers. What we are requesting as taxpayers, we do not collect enough income for it. So I always use this example as one of the things. Every time you vote for a bond, like let's say you live in a condo building.
Right.
And your condo building, you have your maintenance fee. You have your basic maintenance fee that covers. But then something happens and you have to have a special assessment. Well, that's your bond. And what happens is when you look at Miami-Dade County, when you look at the city of Miami, you're looking at that we bond to actually do stuff that maybe we should have budgeted for, that we just don't have the money for it.
Got it.
So I hate to break it to you, but in the city of Miami in particular, 50% of your taxes of what you have as income in the budget just go to fire, safety, and police. Then the rest, the next 30%, gets ugly. Next 30% goes to staff, just regular staff, like people that pick up the trash, that kind of stuff. So you have
hang on a second. That's what I want to do. We're kicking the can down the road. Pick up the trash. Pick up that can and get rid of it.
They're there. That they can do.
Staff is important,
there,
right?
Yeah, staff,
fire, police,
and staff.
The garbage people, the staff,
pensions, all of the things that you pay after.
And then
so Ben, you're
at
operating
80% already.
Yeah. No, your operating is about 12%, more or less, give or take.
How much?
12. Something to actually, like, let's say you want parks, like you want.
There's only 12% of my dollar that I put in. There's only 12 cents left for
that'll actually go to the pretty stuff. And then the county works it a different way. And the budgets are public. The budgets are always out there.
Understood. But
so we're going to see that our budget come 2022 is going to be kind of tough. And it'll be in the county, it'll be with the state, just because of the COVID and because of some of the things that happen.
And maybe this is oversimplifying it with this CRA. If you've only got 12% left over to do something different or new, does that 12% go to 15% with the CRA? Does it? I know that
actually, from a city standpoint, it actually diminishes it. You don't have that,
right?
Because that money has to stay within the CRA,
right? But that CRA itself gets
that'll improve
extra benefit.
Absolutely.
Is it a 50% improvement? I mean, maybe that's oversimplified.
Yeah, it depends on what your TIF is, or what your tax increment is. So because exactly.
TIF is tax.
But remember, everybody's going to have their hands in that tax. So the county's going to have their hands in it. Cities are going to have their hands in it, because at the end of the day, using that example of the street right down the street on 64th, the CRA committed to paying X to the county for the pretty sidewalks.
Hav, thank you for the education. In the last minute or two that we have, is there other areas of Miami-Dade County that are heading to a CRA? I know you said they were kind of sunsetting this
concept.
Were
sunsetting, yeah.
But is there anything still in the works that might affect us?
No, I don't think so. South Miami sunsetted theirs once they completed the project. This is the first expansion, or this is the first creation of a CRA down here in a bit. We have the Omni CRA that's still in place.
Which gave us, as you said, some amazing buildings and culture.
But did they resolve affordable housing? Did they resolve? Again, we go back to
affordable housing. Right. What's that?
So when you go to when you're presenting this to the community, you're saying, well, you're going to get these benefits. Yeah, but they're a long way down the road, if at all. And again, they always come with a caveat. And I think that's what we don't explain enough. And that's what I tried to get out to the community.
Great.
And hence why they don't love me. And
they don't love you, but they learn from you.
Yeah, so hopefully so.
Well, TLAs, 3-letter acronyms. You've heard plenty of them today. Both Hav and I are here to help you with real estate.
Absolutely.
We hope that the city and county are also here to help you with real estate. But if you have dreams, talk to Hav or myself. We will help you with your real estate dreams. Until next week, have a great one.
It's been a lot of fun.